and a nice little dose of feminine rage. What the hell was gonna unravel before my eyes? Oh my god. However, I did have nightmares after reading this and the next one. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Johanna here to talk about some friggin' books that I have read recently. These are going to be books from July, the beginning of July. It is currently the end of July while I'm filming this. This first one I actually did finish in the very end of June. I lied. And that is My Dear Henry by Kalynn. Bayron. This is a reimagining of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's part of the Fewell and Friends remixes, young adult remixes. And I do have a vlog that is already up that I will put in the cards if I remember. It's the July Gothic horror reading vlog I randomly did. And this was one of them that I read. And I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde semi-recently. I still can't remember. I think it was earlier this year. I'm pretty sure, maybe late last year. And I felt pretty lukewarm about that. And the TLDR here is that I also felt kind of lukewarm about this. Well written, but I just felt like a detachment from the characters. I couldn't really get engaged with the story. And it's very reminiscent of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So if you really love Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, would recommend this for sure. We're definitely looking a lot at homophobia back in, I don't know, Victorian times. Is that when this is? I'm not sure. And racism as well. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde certainly has heavy themes of, you know, people who are othered. And in this, it's very specifically queerphobia, homophobia, and racism and xenophobia. And I enjoyed all of that, the thematic elements. I appreciated the messaging and everything. But yeah, I just felt kind of like, well, okay, about this one. Then I completed Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, also part of that vlog. This I have certainly seen making the rounds. Stephen Graham Jones in general is a pretty popular author. I had never read anything by Stephen Graham Jones. This was my first. And this was specifically, like, directly recommended to me by Ingrid. Ingrid reads a lot. She's one of my besties. She has a channel. And I will try to remember to link her down below as well. But yeah, she recommended this, and I'm certainly glad she did. The summary, in case you do not know, for this one. In 2012, a diary is found in the walls of a church in Montana belonging to a reverend from 100 years prior. And a woman who is a descendant of the reverend, a woman in 2012 timeline, reads through it to discover his quite harrowing and fantastical tale involving a man from the Blackfeet Nation who comes to his church to give confession. And the confession he gives haunts the Reverend and changes the course of his life, for sure.
Mom, can you pick me up? I'm scared.
The TLDR here for my thoughts on this. I found this to be an incredibly compelling story with incredibly compelling characters as well. Goodstab is a iconic character. I did have some slight pacing qualms, particularly toward the beginning, where we get a little wordy with the Reverend's like journal entries of every little thing he did all day and just minutia. I don't care. But nothing major as far as my qualms. It was nothing that drastically deterred my enjoyment. Even when I felt like, okay, it's a little wordy, it didn't feel like a slog. I was still very intrigued with what the hell was gonna unravel before my eyes. All of the thematic elements here were incredibly well done. Some truly harrowing and horrific scenes that like still haunt me. It's not like scary, jump scare, oh my gosh, I can't look, I'm terrified. But just like, holy shit, like you just feel it in your soul. And yeah, it's staying with me, and I think this is one that will stay with me for a while. For the writing, I really enjoyed the writing style, the authorial voice. This will definitely not be my last Stephen Graham Jones book that I pick up. I found it to be very evocative and very moving. And just the motifs that he uses throughout are just like delicious in the fact that he gives you so much to sink your teeth into. Just so much to look at the meanings behind things, the symbolism of things. There's a lot here. I've seen some criticisms in other reviews and things and people talking about this that it isn't like horror enough. I'm not like a horror girly, a big horror reader. So avid horror readers certainly may disagree with my opinion here. But I think this was incredibly horrifying. Like, yeah, it isn't slasher thriller style horror. But I don't know, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the horror genre is just that. It only counts as horror if it's like giving you jump scares and slasher, murder, thriller, tension, and you know what I mean? Like you're creeping through a dark haunted house and what's gonna come around the corner? Like it doesn't have to be that to be horror. Am I right? Or am I wrong? I don't know. In my opinion. Like I never found myself scared while reading this book. I never found myself like, oh God, I'm scared to turn the page and like I might have nightmares. However, I did have nightmares after reading this and the next one, which were both horror, but not about the book necessarily. But like I said, it just has like really harrowing moments of terrible things happening. And like, it's not like, you know, terrible things happening to people as in they're being tortured. It's like fundamentally like harming the soul of a person. And you're seeing someone's like heart breaking and soul breaking, I guess, is how I would describe it without giving any spoilers. Also, there is a decent amount of body horror for sure. I mean, the one church scene towards the end, hello? Like, that would be terrifying and just, oh my God, on like a movie screen. Like, if you're watching a movie with that scene in it, Jesus H. Christ. Like, yeah, holy shit. And like I said, I think the characters were very compelling. Good Stab, certainly. Good Stab is a new favorite, I would say. Like, a character who's up there in the tier list of characters for me. And even Arthur, the Reverend, he's not likable. He's a pretty terrible person. Right off the bat, very early, you see the very blatant racism, xenophobia, you know, using slurs about Native peoples, and just all the assumptions and stereotypes and all of that. Like, he's not a nice guy, but he was compelling. And even Good Stab is far more likable, but he's not written to be the hero of the story. There isn't really... I mean, I guess unless... I can't even remember her name, but Arthur's descendant from the 2012 timeline, I feel like she could kind of be seen as more of a hero in the story, if you're gonna pick someone, I would say. I don't know. It was just the complexities of their moral failings were incredibly fascinating. In my opinion, Good Stab's greed was a big reason for his kind of moral failings. Arthur's gluttony and apathy are a big reason for his, and cowardice, I would say, as well. Oh yeah, her name was Etsy, the descendant of him, and she wasn't in it a lot. That's why I kind of forgot her name. But she was fucking hilarious to me. There were just some she was like so sarcastic and kind of snarky, and I found her quite amusing. For the plot and the pacing, again, like I said, there were a couple of points more towards the beginning where I had where it just felt like it was dragging on a little long with Arthur's diary entries in particular. And there are some very long chapters in this. Particularly chapters where Good Stab is kind of telling his story. Some of those are really, really long. But as I said, again, it never felt like a slog to get through, because even when the chapters were more lengthy, and Arthur's diary entries were a little wordy, the characters were still very engrossing. I was engrossed in the characters and what the hell is going on and what are we doing here? And without giving any spoilers, the ending, Jesus. The ending gets a little like violent as well, pretty violent, actually. But also there's like a moment where it was quite hilarious to me. There's some imagery, and if you know what I'm talking about. In Etsy's apartment.
Are you supposed to be on the couch?
Like, it's fucking hilarious imagery to actually imagine this situation, but it was also horrifying what it meant for the characters in the scene and what had happened. Like, holy shit. Absolutely themes here of, like, greed being someone's downfall, white supremacy, colonization of indigenous peoples and their land. Kind of a theme of becoming the thing we hate a little bit. Definitely some rage. And the indigenous concept of bad medicine bringing harm. And some messaging and kind of, I guess, I don't know, I saw some messaging of children being our future and what that means and what it means if children are put in harm's way and they are our future, that kind of thing. There are some pretty memorable scenes that I can't really say without spoiling things. One thing I will just say is weasel plume. That is all. And some quotes too that aren't necessarily super spoilery, but they kind of don't hit as much if you don't know. There is one line though that I think does just in and of itself, it's just like, oof. I opened my mouth in what I would call pain, but it was deeper. It was all my sin trying to find a way out. But yeah, several scenes that I think are gonna live rent-free in my head for a while. Like some scene, when I say like harrowing, like some stuff that it's hard to look at. It's hard to read. It's like seeing someone else's deep, profound pain and loss. And it's like, it's hurtful to see it happening. And like your empathy, you know what I mean? Where your empathy just makes you like, oh my God, my heart hurts. Stuff like that. There was several scenes that will stay with me for some time. So this one is definitely in the favorites range for me, for sure. I don't know if I'll buy a copy. I read it from the library. I read a physical copy, and I actually did some of it on audio via Spotify as well. But I don't know if it's one I would reread. Just, it's a lot, and also, you know, I know where it went. Like I've said this before, with thrillers or horror, and oftentimes with romance, for some reason, those are stories that I don't typically find myself itching to reread. I don't know why, but I might though. I don't know, maybe. Really loved it though. It's amazing. I'm recording right now and Ghost is sleeping on my chair over here. She kind of started fussing around a little bit earlier and then she just went to sleep. I'm not complaining. The next book is another one from that July Gothic horror reading vlog that I did, and that is Blood on Her Tongue by Johanna von Veen. I learned thank you to Esme for letting me know the Dutch pronunciation there is Veen is actually like vein, more like vein. I still might be saying it incorrectly, but that's how I interpreted your comment. Thank you very much. This is another one that I grabbed from the library. This one, I think, is one that I'm more inclined to want to purchase. A, because it's beautiful. The sprayed edges I showed you guys in the like library vlog and in that reading vlog, but like just beautiful to me, like such cool sprayed edges. But also this one, while still being horror and it's a similar thing of like, I mean, I know what happens, but this one had just delicious writing. And I think I could see myself rereading it. The summary of this one, though, it is a Gothic historical horror. Lucy and Sarah are twin sisters with an incredibly codependent relationship. Lucy lives with this lady. She's like a companion to this older, wealthy lady, while Sarah lives in their childhood home with her husband and, you know, the servants of the house. And one day, Lucy receives a pretty troubling letter from Sarah, indicating that she is once again losing her sanity and obsessing over real dark, morbid things. Lucy then receives a follow-up letter from Sarah's husband being like, hey, oh my God, come help please. She is very unwell. Lucy gets there and finds Sarah being harassed by voices she claims she is hearing, and the doctor says she has a brain fever. But Lucy is afraid that there might be something much deeper and darker happening to her twin as she watches her change in pretty monstrous ways. The themes I found in this one, definitely gothic motifs of the haunted house, the house that is bringing like bad vibes, misogyny, sexism, for sure. How mental health is diagnosed and treated, especially in women back in the day. Tiptoeing around men's anger and moods, kind of walking on eggshells vibes. And a nice little dose of feminine rage. The TLDR here for me is that I found this to be very well written and incredibly grotesque in all the best ways. It was very evocative. It's like the only word I can just keep thinking of with this one. The writing here was delicious. There were so many descriptive lines focused on sensory pleasure, tactile sensory pleasures, how things feel. Some were pretty standard, like the enjoyable soft velvety feel of like a dog's ears, while others were either suggestive or deeply unsettling. Some examples. She did not suck on ribbons for their color, though. She simply liked the sensation of the thin, wet silk on her tongue and against her lips. She rubbed her cheek harshly against her sister's hand, wanting the feel of it to be ground into her very cells. As he worked, Lucy wrung her hands with such force, the skin at the base of her index finger split. Like, goddamn. Those are just a couple of examples. It's all throughout the book. And just the gothic vibes were very clear and present. And I thoroughly enjoyed the writing here. And for the characters, Lucy was a pretty big hypocrite, not a very good person. And I enjoyed that. She was really like soft-spoken and submissive overall, but secretly quite jealous and resentful in a like nasty way. I found her to be a very fascinating character to follow. For the plot and the pacing, I found the pacing here to be very consistent. I mean, I blew through this bitch. I could not put this book down. There was just so much tension and curiosity of like, I kept messaging Ingrid. This is another one that Ingrid recommended. Well, she didn't initially recommend, she just had it as like an anticipated release. And I was like, okay. And so I got it from the library, and then she read it before I got to it. And once she read it, she was like, I can't wait for you to read it. It's so good. So I was messaging her and I just kept going, what the fuck is going on? What in the fuck is going on here? And I really liked where it ended. It got buck wild towards the end. And there's a little bit of like an open-ended ending, kind of. Like, you know some things, but it does leave it off with like, oh, I wonder what happened there. And I enjoyed that, actually. And yeah, for memorable scenes, this is another one that there's a few scenes in particular that will definitely haunt me in the best way. Like, it was just, oh God, like this visceral, oh my God, like unnerving, unsettling. The eyeball, the fucking, there's a bog body that gets found, and the rock, that's all I'll say. The fucking rock. Oh my God. And just so many scenes that were just grotesque and horrifying in the best way. I definitely loved this one, and I didn't initially feel like it was a favorite of the year, like in the faves range, but I think it actually is. Like, the more I sit with it, and like every time I think about it, and every time I am like talking about it with people, and now talking about it, I'm like, I think this might be a favorite. It was real good. It was real good. And the last one I will talk about today, because a bitch is yapping, too much, I'm getting a little overly long here, is Remnants of Dawn by Elliot Brooks. Book 2 of the Dark Shores series. I always give a disclaimer whenever I'm talking about these books. Elle is one of my best friends, one of my closest friends in real life, so, you know, that must be said. There is a level of bias and whatnot. Just want to put it out there. This is book 2, so I'll give you the summary, kind of rundown, brief rundown of book 1. We have a country called Abram, and it has enjoyed 30 years of peace after the War of Fire. New generations only know war through stories, and prosperity has softened its people. Yet 4 powerful nations dictate the land. Mysidia faces a rebellion questioning its heir and guardian. To its south, Zenith, liberators of the War of Fire, and Amulet guardians. Across the dividing wall, the newly freed Sedai with an assassin prince and an insurgency. Fourth is ancient Eve, land across the sea, gifted and cursed with the sight. Only one knows the world's fate, but all are pawns. Some themes here of kind of good versus evil, but mixed in there like moral grayness, the good and bad in life and in individual people. A lot of talk of forgiveness and healing traumas and just working through our various traumas. I read most of this on ebook. That came out earlier, and I've had that for a minute. But then the audiobook did come out, and I really liked the audiobook for Peace and Turmoil, the first book. So I did the remainder of it. Like, I think like the last 40%, I want to say, was on audio. And TLDR, this did take me a hot ass minute to get through. She's a chunky bitch. She is thick. The first one was as well. Elle definitely likes a longer story, a more involved story. There were a couple of places where the pacing slowed a little bit for me, but I definitely felt more grounded in this world and in the overall plot in this second book than I did in the first one. And I got to know the characters so much more, and I really like what is set up and where we are going. For the writing, I think Elle's writing is very solid, and she has some very poignant lines throughout. I was taking some screenshots and sending her and being like, love that. There are some times where we get maybe a little bit more character inner monologues than is to my personal taste. But the flip side of that is that it did allow me to get to know the characters a lot deeper on a lot deeper levels. So, you know, pros and cons there. And I'm sure Elle would not be surprised to hear me say that, because she knows there's some books that she loves, and she loves the characters just sitting in their thoughts and their feelings, and those are the parts of those books that I'm like, I can't. I want a DNF. Not that I wanted to DNF this one, but I'm sure she wouldn't be surprised to hear me say that there were times where I was like, okay. The characters, Natalia. I think she's one of my more favorite characters. She's very interesting. She's got a lot going on, and sometimes she seems like a greedy, selfish, self-serving person, but then other times she seems very compassionate. I think she always wants to do what she believes is the right thing, but maybe sometimes it's figuring out what that is and the compromises that might have to come when you're in a position of leadership, as she is. And she sometimes makes some mistakes and sometimes just has to do the hard thing for the greater good, you know? Roland is probably my least favorite character. Another thing that I'm sure would not shock Elle to hear me say. Zodia is another favorite character. She has very innocent, naive tendencies, yet she is a fucking badass. Magically, essentially a goddess, with her powers and magical abilities. She's fucking cool. With the plot and the pacing, I'm very, very curious to see where we're going in the story. Like I said, I really like what got set up here. There were a lot of puzzle pieces coming together and some really cool reveals and plot twists as well. And yeah, there were some just really cool standout scenes, a lot of them featuring Zodia with her badassery magically. With the warehouses, I love her. She's so great. But yeah, I had a good time overall with this. I really liked it, and I am excited for what's to come. All right, a bitch has yapped enough. Let me know if you have read any of these or are thinking about reading any of these. You can leave an emoji if you just want to say hello to make your presence known. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.